Well, thank you very much for everybody coming to this fireside chat on AI. As you know, this is a very hot topic lately, thanks to ChatGPT. And I am honored today to be accompanied by Carlos Moure, that is, for me, one of the key stakeholders in artificial intelligence in Spain. So thank you for being here today. We are going to try to tackle this matter in a very practical manner. As you know, there are a lot of things that have been discussed around the risks on AI, geopolitical issues, which country will be the lead one in this race to become the leader on artificial intelligence, how this will operate in China, Europe, and US. But particularly, we are concerned about all the challenges. There are a lot of issues around privacy, around identity, around IP. People is somehow feared around use these technologies, particularly in the internal process of companies. But I think that we are just seeing like a little bit percentage of everything that is going on, and probably Carlos will follow more on how companies are using AI internally to deploy new business models and particularly to make more efficient internal processes. So, Carlos, please go ahead on this.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel, and thank you all of you to be here with us. No? When we were talking about this presentation about the challenge of the organization, when they are trying to do an artificial intelligence transformation, or what is the big challenge that they have today, no? Normally we think that the first point is that they have a technology challenge or technology integration problem, no? Probably they have this kind of challenge, but it's not for us, it's not the main challenge. The second is that they have the variable, the human variable, because we try to remember everybody and the managers and the executive committee that an organization is a lot of people that they work together, that they are interdependent people and department that they try to get the value for the organization. And really they have the legal, they have the ethic, and they have a lot of challenge that they have to do really to do a very agile or artificial intelligence transformation program or project, no? So, Samuel, what do you think about the difference of the geopolitical and legal difference in a global companies in this kind of challenge?
Yeah, well, I think that's key. That's key. We are detecting that there are a lot of countries that are right now trying to develop pieces of legislation on AI. Probably China is ahead of us. They have been working on this for several years. They have launched, even at a regional level, several pieces of legislation. They have a lot of startups working on this. But I think that for organizations, it's key to anticipate issues, probably not looking to the pieces of legislation of being adopted, because for me, AI touches a lot of different things. Touches IP, touches privacy. So it's very important for companies, I think, to implement processes internally from a compliance standpoint, to adopt policies and procedures that they have already, and to connect all the relevant stakeholders that are inside the companies to work on those policies and to benefit from AI. We are detecting a lot of news on issues, or this company used artificial intelligence and provided trade secrets and intellectual property. So this has been disclosed to third parties. But I think that we should not fear artificial intelligence. It's just a question on trying to work a lot inside the companies to establish the proper controls, to establish a proper compliance scheme for all the organization to benefit from that. It is true that legislation will come with conformity assessments, or for example, in Europe, or security assessments in China that are called, that we will have issues, for example, around foundational models, to which extent we can audit all the data sources that we are taking for the artificial intelligence to deploy new schemes. But I think that this will be something really on the accountability side of the company. So to try to adopt the steps to the extent possible to avoid these potential issues. But I think that, for example, for foundational models, and you know them very well, it's quite challenging to try to have traceability of everything or to try to explain on a transparent manner how we are working on those models and to provide that information on users. I do not know how it's the experience, how you are facing this in the industry, for example.
Yeah, and we know a lot about ChatGPT, but today we think that there is more than 1,000 generative models or different foundation models that they are going to compete with ChatGPT, that they are going to be more competitive in cost or more advanced in the features, no? And Samuel, you talk about the compliance skills. I think that we need to talk about the talent around artificial intelligence because we are going to need a lot of different skills and talent, not only engineers. Today, you don't need to have a master's degree to work with a foundation model, but you are going to need a lot of different skills in a company. And how do you think that we are going to do this reskilling, upskilling in the future, no? In this kind of organizations, very big organization and global organization, no?
Yeah, well, I think that probably we will need all to adapt to these new models, even lawyers, engineers, etc. So we need to seek how to benefit from this artificial intelligence in each one of the positions, and to try to revisit the structure within the organization in terms of delivery models, because we understand that it's very, very important not only think about artificial intelligence for external products, but how to make our companies more efficient. And for doing that, for me, and that's very connected to the profiles that we will need to onboard, is everything, for example, around intellectual property. There is a lot of debate on what will happen. The artificial intelligence is the one that is generating the works that are produced through the algorithms, or it is true someone that is intervening or that is somehow being part of this creation of the artificial intelligence, the one that is creating the work. So there are a lot of challenges, for example, to see how we can protect everything that is generated by AI. If this will be, for example, a trade secret, but probably the protection is not so good, or either by means of a patent, but we'll have the discussion whether this is just a software or this is a technical solution that we are solving through this artificial intelligence, or as I said, this human intervention on the IP side. But I think that there will be a lot of opportunities ahead in the market of new profiles that will need the companies, that will reconfigure absolutely how we treat information that is accessible to the public. And I think that there will be a lot of verticals that will be affected. Truly, probably we are thinking about consumers at the end of the day, or to benefit consumers from the AI on biotech or in other type of companies. But in my experience, there are a lot of things to explore yet. We have not developed a sufficient framework to anticipate all the use cases in the market. So yeah, there are a lot of things ahead that we are adopting. I think that the proper steps to try to create a framework from an ethical, from a legal, from a compliance standpoint, but there will be a lot of things ahead. But in terms of use cases, Carlos, what you are detecting in the market, for example, in which type of verticals you are detecting more movement?
Today, we think that there is two very big potentials transformation programs. The first is that a lot of companies, they are trying to develop new models, new business model, new revenues for the companies. That is the first way. And the second way for us is that we think that a lot of companies are looking inside their organizations. A lot of very big companies and organizations, they start the transformation journey a lot of years ago. And today, they think that to survive in the next years, because every company is trying to survive and the self-development, no? They think that they have to be more competitive, more global, more technological companies. So they are trying to identify which kind of projects or process, the internal process, they can do in a different way. How are they going to be more competitive in the way that they get the value to the clients? And here we normally feel like fear in a lot of companies inside the companies. Because, I don't know, perhaps 12 or 15 years ago, we think that artificial intelligence is going to be, or is going to be the first jobs that they're going to suffer the impact of this technology is going to be more the low profiles in the company, more the repetitive tasks in a company, no? And we see today that no, the first impact is more in the knowledge worker, is more in that software engineer, is more like an artist, journalist, more in a different kind of talent, no? So a lot of people is thinking, what is going to happen with me in the company in the future, no? So it's a very, very difficult role for the human resource department because always in every organization, we always have the human variable in every transformation, no? So we have to think in the person, in the people, and in them like the biggest asset of any company, no? So Samuel, what do you think about this human resource in when they feel that a lot of workers in a company are feared about the impact of the artificial intelligence for them and for their college, no?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of barriers that we need to solve and to provide some kind of certainty internally to try to seek this as an opportunity and not as a risk, and particularly because this creates valuable assets for the company. And I think that benefiting from the opportunity of being here at South Summit, I think that one of the things that we should tackle is what happens with all these assets that are developed by artificial intelligence or the mere in the artificial intelligence, because we are seeing like a high valuation of companies, for example, in the US, just by the mere fact that they are developing artificial intelligence models, but they do not have a business model still behind. So from my perspective, that changed a little bit the paradigm in the last years for VCs to invest and to seek for more adapted models for revenues, for consumer targets, etc. That changed a lot the way. And for me, to be very honest, it's very difficult to try to find a proper valuation of that, or even to make a proper audit on all those assets and to state, okay, these are the risks associated, or these are potentially the capabilities of this scheme to grow. But since you are in a VC, particularly investing in companies of such a kind, what do you see in terms of the market valuation, in terms of what are the things that, for example, you are trying to seek in companies that are in the artificial intelligence side to invest? What are the key triggers?
Here, you can invest in two kinds of companies. The first, you can invest in a foundation model. Okay, so you can invest in a model that you are going to try to grow and to scale, and you have a very good opportunity in this side. And the other side, that you are going to invest in a business model that they are trying to use a foundation model or artificial intelligence really to add more value to another company, more a B2B or B2B company, no? For us today, the biggest opportunities is that, for example, in industrial artificial intelligence, there are a lot of opportunities for companies that they are trying to really to change the value chain of the company, because they try to change how are we going to add value in the industrial process of any company. No? So you can invest in a foundation model. That is a very good opportunity, but it's going to be very difficult because today we have a lot of open source foundation models. We are going to have more open source in the future, so it's very difficult to try to compete in this market. And in the B2B or the B2B2C, in industrial or in retail or in financial institutions, really you can invest in startups that they are trying to get these models to the final clients. No? For us, the second market is the biggest opportunity. No? And the valuation are high valuation today because the market is very hot. There's a very competitive market. No? And every venture capital we are trying to look for really the diamond, really the best company, no, for us and in the future. No? Yeah. Here we have Money Spender Europe. We need to try to we talk with Samuel about this, that how are going to try really to legal, no more the legal or the property, no, in the company. That how are we going really to do the growth of the startups in Europe to try to compete, no, in United States, in China, because the legislation here in Europe is different, no, and it's difficult not only for big organization, for startups or for small and medium companies, no.
Yeah, no, it's a really good challenge. From my perspective, for example, the AI legislation that we are adopting in Europe is like a framework. It is still very difficult to anticipate all the models that are behind. So there is a very broad definition of what is included within artificial intelligence. There are a catalog of risk, but it is true that for me, one of the key issues at hand is how to deploy the business abroad. Because, okay, you will be fulfilling regulations in Europe, you will have a lot of transparency, conformity assessments, etc. But probably in China or in the US, the models will be significantly different. So we do not know yet if this legislation will aim at the development of these entities, or this will be a barrier in comparison with other markets that are operating already for so long, sandboxes, so they are testing already these technologies that are more flexible because they are like in a race to try to reach the prominent point behind. So from my perspective, it is very likely that the models that we have in Europe could be used abroad, for sure. It is a little bit like, you know, when GDPR came into force, that we tried to have this like extraterritorial effect in other countries, and that affected 4 other pieces of legislation. So I think that this will work, but it is true that in terms of the race to become the first, I do not know if this will pose some barriers. I think that particularly in Spain, that we are adopting a lot of initiatives around. We have a lot of innovation centers. We are creating sandboxes, so there will be opportunities ahead. But for me, the point will be to see that this is not really a trend. That for me is not a trend, but you know, we have been discussing a lot of technologies just before around metaverse, etc. And you have like the issue to see this in the market, to see this implemented and to see the valuation there. But I think that we will certainly reach that point. As you know, and as you have been discussed earlier, it's a thing that we had in the past, that we have a lot of capacity in terms of technical resources right now to implement these processes. And we will see how these open source models will operate, the challenges that we will have ahead, because open source models tend to be more prominent at the end, or to benefit from improvements. But that's a thing we will require, from my perspective, at least 1 to 3 years to stabilize everything, to try to reduce potentially gaps or issues, for example, from authorities. And we will need a coordinated effort, I think, from the industry, from governmental authorities, to move this forward.
Yeah, but for example, Samuel, when you have a project with a corporation, they have really, they talk with you about Europe is different, we need to do something different. What happened? What is going to be about the intellectual property in the software model? How are we going to do this, no? Because it's a very good question. Software, foundation model, intellectual property, no?
Yeah, no, it is true. It's really interesting to see that we are adopting a lot of pieces of legislation, but we are not tackling the main issue, that is how to protect this. So probably things will evolve. For me, it's also a question to seek opportunities. We have seen that in terms of trademarks, how things have changed for being able to register, for example, in categories such as NFTs for metaverse, etc. So probably there will be trends also to change how a patent could be registered in this type of models, or try to seek a protection by means of software. But you know that, for example, in Europe or in Spain, the value of registering a software is more to have pledges or to secure financing, but not to have a really good protection. But yeah, we will see. So Carlos, just some final words that I think that will be interesting coming from you of the future on AI.
I think that we are living in one of the most important technology transformation in the history of the humankind. It's the big challenge, the big opportunity, and if the technology is not going to be the problem. Is that how are we going to use the technology? And I think that we have to get this opportunity because we have a lot of challenge in the humankind, the climate change, the health, and a lot of things, no? The demography. So artificial intelligence probably will be one of the most challenge and the most opportunity for us, like Homo sapiens, no? For us, like a humankind, no?
Yeah, no, it's incredible, for example, from my perspective, how Earth observation models are developed through artificial intelligence, or how things could be improved in terms of ESG, etc., thanks to this model. So I think that we arrive at time. Thank you very much, everybody, for your attention, and see you soon.
Thank you.